it's Bitty Penny. Today I am working with the box of the month, and this is the sequins, a little treat, and all of the goodies that come in the box. So there is the owl themed paper stamp set and ephemera, and then there is the nutcracker paper ephemera and stamp set, as well as a really cool layering stencil. So this is everything that comes in the box, but today I am just working with this stamp set, some watercolor paper, and I'm going to be making a card with watercolors. So I grabbed this die from my stash, and I'm actually going to use this embossing pen, and I'm just going to emboss inside the edges. And I went around like 3 times. Since it's watercolor paper, it really soaks up embossing ink. So it's good to, stamp things a couple of times or make sure that the paper is really saturated for the best results. And then I'm using this Wow glitter embossing powder. I really wanted the sparkle, and I always wear a mask when I emboss because you're melting plastic, so it seems like a good thing to do. I hope you guys are doing great and having a good day. If you got the box of the month, yay! I hope you're having fun with it. And if not, I did check before doing this voiceover. There's a couple still in stock, as well as the paper and ephemera from the box of the month. Both collections are still in stock, but the individual stamp sets are sold out. All right, so I am taking this one adorable owl and this tree, which is designed more like a tree, like a tree trunk and not a tree limb the way I'm doing it here today, but it can be used either way. I am stamping out my little owl with some VersaFine ink, and I did stamp it twice, and now I'm going to make a mask out of this post-it here once I get it lined up, and I will cut that out and cover up my little owl so that I can stamp the tree branch. Again, I am using the VersaFine for this too, and you can tell I'm covering my edge just in case I decide later to use this scrap piece. I had used the die just to see if it would be enough to mask my card, but it wasn't quite enough. So that's why I ended up using both. I'm taping this down to my glass mat so that I can start watercoloring. I don't think taping it down made a big difference, but at least it keeps it all in one place. Now I'm bringing in my watercolors, and I wanted to share just a few tips and tricks with the watercolors. Here I am going like with a dry technique. I'm dry paper, wet brush, and ink. I'm not doing wet on wet, so I didn't preliminarily wet the paper before I started painting on it. You get more of a spread when you do that, and I wanted to first kind of outline these tree branches before putting very much water down. So that's what I'm doing. I am trying to get different variables of the blue as well. So I'm wanting it really saturated in some areas and lighter in other areas because I want that variation. So sometimes I go from that dark blue on my palette straight to the paper, and then other times I added more water from the barrel of the brush. And now I'm going in actually with like a warm amber color, and I'm just kind of dotting it in. I just want again, more variation, a little slightly different color in the night sky. And I thought that the amber or brown color would be really interesting back there, and I liked that a lot. I've been wanting some granulation watercolors, not taking the plunge, but by looking at them, you know, I got ideas about different color combinations, because that's essentially what they're doing is with the granulating watercolors, they're adding different pigments together. And anyways, I'm just mimicking that with the watercolors that I have. And now I'm going in and painting my branch and making sure all of my branches are painted. I want to leave in the little tufts of snow that are illustrated in the stamp, because I thought those were so adorable. And now I've got this dark charcoal color, and I've watered it down quite a bit. I don't want it to be too black or too strong. I want it to be like a softer gray. And I'm using this to mimic the marks that were stamped in the owl image and draw more of those same kind of lines in. It's like almost like etching, but it looks like a snow owl is what I'm trying to imitate here. Is like a little snow owl. And I gave him a dark beak because they have black beaks. And then what I'll do is color in the eyes, because the images I looked at Google had yellow eyes. So I color in the yellows of the eyes, keeping it soft, keeping it pretty transparent. You know, I definitely played with opaque and transparent techniques today to give myself a lot of variety and dimension with the watercolors. So that's something you can think of. Like when you look at the blue, you can see some areas are really transparent and others are opaque. I did bring in my micron pen, and what I'm going to do is just like those few little black lines that were etched or stamped on the owl's belly, I'm going to add those same lines all around where I put the gray dashes, and it makes it all more uniform. So I find that the 0.3 micron is kind of the closest to stamped images, at least a lot of the ones from the Not Too Shabby shop. Now that owl seems pretty complete, and I want to add some perfect pearls around the sky. And by this time, I knew that I was going to cut this out, so I didn't worry about covering anything except for the owl. I didn't want him to have a bunch of sparkle because I really just wanted these to be like stars in the background. So I covered him up and put the stars all around and die cut this out. I just love all of the shine that I got on this image. Now this is it on an A2, which it looks fine, it looks good, but I really like it on an A7. I feel like it gives the owl area more room to breathe or something. I don't know, it feels too restricted and too tight on the A2, but you guys might prefer it. It takes up the whole A2 for the most part, so maybe that's really what you would prefer, but I wanted to bring in some paper. The hardest part was picking my paper. I kind of auditioned 4 pieces or more here, and I thought they all looked lovely. It was really hard narrowing it down, but I ended up picking the stars and the gold. One thing I did was I took pictures of it with my phone and kind of decided from that, because sometimes when we're editing videos, we'll see something and we'll be like, oh, maybe I should have picked that other thing. So I did. That's something you can do, is take a picture with your phone and see which picture you like best. Maybe that'll help you decide when you can't decide what paper to use or how to arrange something on your card. That might really help you. So I cut my paper down to 4 3/4, and then it's by 6, and then these are 1 inch by 4 3/4. And I just did that so that I could stretch my 6 by 6 paper to fit the 5 by 7 background and really fill it in so that there's only a small border around the edges. And now I'm just coercing my watercolor paper to be more flat. As Tim Holtz says, the paper doesn't have muscle memory. You can get your warped paper flat again. And then I did add stickles in quite a few places. Oh my goodness, I didn't shake the stickles first, and it had been in my drawer for quite some time. And so some kind of clear fluid came out all over my card. Luckily, I was able to get it up and everything's fine. But I would recommend, if you haven't used it in a while, definitely shake it and squeeze it out somewhere other than your card at first. So now I'm adding stickle to the Santa's hat, and I added it to all the little snow caps on the tree and around. I really love all the shine that this card has from the glitter embossing, the stickles, and the perfect pearls. Here is the final card. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have watercolors, break them out. Use them with the stamp set. It was so much fun. Definitely go over to Not Too Shabby and get the box of the month. Talk to you next time. Bye.